Hey, what's up guys? This is Brian from Whisper Status 74, and today we're doing a video review of Pet Semetary 4K Blu-ray release, which released this week. 1989. This is a classic horror film based on the classic novel by Stephen King. There's also a new film which released, I believe, last week or maybe 2 weeks ago that is out now. I know they're trying to follow in the footsteps of it and redo a lot of these old films. This video is about this film, the classic film, Pet Semetary. And the real question and why I like doing video reviews of these films from this era is the double dipping that us AV home theater enthusiasts love to do. We've done it since VHS to DVD to Blu-ray, Laserdisc, you name it. The question will always be with these films is it worth purchasing? Simply because is it better than your Blu-ray? And unfortunately, in some of the 4K format, the Blu-rays have looked better than the 4K versions of films. Some people have pointed out that Halloween looked better on Blu-ray than it did on 4K Blu-ray. I think HDR plays a part in that. Also, we know that 4K Blu-rays can pull out the grain structure. Bear with me, pull out, I mean make it more obtrusive, make it seem more evident than it did on its Blu-ray release. That extra detail can make it grainier. With all that said, what do we think about Pet Semetary? Well, Pet Semetary is a good film. I've always liked it. I saw it in the movies when I was a kid. Spoiler, with what happens in the movie. This is not going to be a spoiler-free review, by the way. My best friend and I saw this movie together, and his little brother looked just like the kid Gage in this film. And I want to say I don't know, it was a long time ago, but the movie definitely affected him as we were watching it. Not his little brother, he wasn't there. But we'll get into talking about the film. Alright guys, now you don't have to look at me anymore. Let's just start this off. If you're a fan of the film Pet Semetary, it's definitely a buy. I'll tell you it's a buy because the detail that is in this is so much more obvious than the Blu-ray in terms of fine detail, object detail, paint, grass. From the very first shot, once you get past the intro of the studio, it's evident that there's just more detail here and more of an organic look than you saw in any of the previous releases. What I like about the added clarity and the little nuances are being able to read the tags on all of the pet tombstones, the homemade tombstones, seeing how worn the wood is, how there's leaves and vines on everything. That's painstaking detail, even in set design, to be able to really see that detail. Things that we didn't see so much, even in the theater or watching it on DVD or Blu-ray, is really being able to notice all those paint chips and the little letters that the kids had written to their lost pets. I mean, really a nice touch, something that is more evident on the 4K Blu-ray. And also with any of these old films, let's get this out of the way right in the beginning. If you absolutely detest grain in any shape or form, then this is not going to be the one for you. However, I never found it to be as obtrusive as other releases. I do feel it has its place. It is an old film, 1989. And it is a softer image, but it doesn't mean that it isn't detailed. It doesn't mean that it isn't clean in spots. What's interesting about this film is that some of the far off shots, some of the panning shots are pretty clear. A lot of the interiors are clear. Some of the facial shots have a little more noise than you would think, and those can be a little bit distracting. The outdoor scenes are very bright and very natural and create an excellent contrast for the oppressive, later dark scenes that are scary and make you wish it was light again. They are softer, obviously, than the interior shots, but none of them ever feel super grainy. Again, it's a more soft, natural image, not overly sharp. There doesn't seem to be any DNR happening in this image, which is good for some. For me, I actually am okay with the image being a little bit on the softer side. I do feel that it's as it should have been presented. It's also full screen, so you won't see any black bars. You'll have your full screen filled up, which is always a plus in my book. In some shots, the facial detail is extraordinary, and the clothing is what we look for in these transfers from HD to 4K Blu-rays. Is how does the clothing look on Herman Munster here? It's like you're back in a time machine. It's amazing seeing him. At the time, he was old as hell, but seeing him look so young, considering this was 1989, that's what it's all about. Is the detail in his yard, the building behind him, his house. That's the stuff that a lot of us look out for. So it's funny how, depending on the light, these facial shots, these shots are cleaner, where some of the other facial close-ups are a little bit on the noisy side. This is what it's about with the pores and the stubble and the imperfections in his skin and the fur around his hat that lacks any kind of aliasing. That's, the inner part of the thread on his coat. That's really what we look for, and it's very, very evident in a lot of these shots. Even the grain doesn't take away that detail, which is really what grain is supposed to do, is keep that filmic look without losing detail. Unfortunately, with a lot of us that like that DNR image, you do tend to give up that detail for that cleaner image, and it's not done here, and I think it's done very well. Now, HDR fanatics, this iconic shot, which we have seen done in other movies and is always going to be in our mind, of the cat's name's Church. The lights in the eyes of this cat it looks like they're stuck on the screen. I mean, amazing the way it jumps off the screen in terms of its color and how deep the color is on this image. This is one of the only real HDR shots for your spectral highlights. You'll see some more in the scene where he's burying Church and Gage and he's out in the darkness. But this shot, this iconic shot, HDR fans, it will make you smile, even if just for a moment. Now, it's not a super colorful film in general. The HDR is natural and realistic, and you do have your specular highlights in some of these shots, as well as the one of Church's eyes. But for the most part, it's a rather subdued, dreary film. Even during the daylight scenes, as much as they are bright, they're not particularly vibrant. The trucks that are almost the main villain in this film are very bright red. The fire engine red of the trucks, which, like I said, are probably the main villain of the film, other than the Pet Semetary itself, they do pop off the screen as well. They don't bleed, they are natural, but they do look ominous for that reason. Another shot, very, very detailed. Again, a little bit of grain structure. This is a heartbreaking image here, as it's before what happens to Gage, but the detail in his hair, his face, his clothing, everything just top notch. Very, very good. Again, full screen really brings out the image, really has immersion to it. But at the same time, that little bit of grain is also there and does feel natural. And even for grain haters, I think you'll be okay with this transfer. Now, my one grain gripe in this film is probably this scene here in the airport, where even the up-close images just seem to have too much grain, or even object noise to a point to where it looks very speckled. I'm not sure why that is, but that's probably my one gripe, other than some panning shots that are a little bit soft. But other than that, I'm enjoying it a great deal. This haunting scene towards the end, the black level is very impressive, though it doesn't seem like it is here because of the camera, but it doesn't crush for a film so old. And the grain actually almost seems to disappear in this nightmare shot where he goes into bury Gage. Really, really captures it. And we're going to touch on the sound really, really quickly, but the picture quality of this to me is very, very natural, and as it should be. So as a fan of the film, it is definitely a buy. Even if you're a fan of the original Blu-ray, it is a step up from that. But I would say, as someone who's going to watch it again and again, then it's a buy. It's only $19, so it's worth picking up if you're a fan of the film and you do appreciate the picture quality. To me, it is definitely a buy. Now, in terms of the audio, sadly, no Dolby Atmos, but it does have a very aggressive DTS HD Mix 5.1 from the original Blu-ray. Excellent all-around package. I really enjoyed this 4K Blu-ray. Check it out. Pet Semetary. Thanks as always, guys. Take care.